Rush. And one thing about the bill I always ask is, nobody ever talks about parents. It's usually the teachers, the unions. Nobody ever talks about the parents. Give me the generic, give specifics for the audience. Give me one or two that you didn't like about the bill, the reason why you would support it.
Why would not have supported
Well, you would say you would not support it.
And what would they do to reform?
That's why
Well, for the same reasons I believe that Fred said he was in favor of the bill is why I'm against it. The evaluation system, I've had to work in it for 22 years as law enforcement. Got to agree with Nathan, it's so subjective, and if your supervisor doesn't like you at that point, it does. There is no evaluation system that takes out that personality. So that's one and foremost, that we're going to bank it on whether someone likes somebody or not, whether that teacher should be there or not, or continue getting a pay raise and go from there. I'm not against watching the pay raises and giving to those teachers that deserve it. And there are teachers sitting in there that I have seen, as I've said before, and with my children, that I've had to go to that principal's office and talk about because that teacher should not be there. There should be a way to remove teachers. The tenure is an issue. It needs to be addressed. So, but this bill did not do that. You cannot take out the personal aspect of that person doing the evaluation. Now, to give you specifics, they did a study in Washington, D.C. They spent over $16,000 per student, and they had anywhere from 10 students for one teacher. They ranked last in the U.S. for high school graduation. Utah, they put about, get my figures right here, $5,551 per student. There were 20 students per every one teacher. They ranked number one. You know why they ranked number one? They ranked number one because they put the money into the classrooms where it belonged. That meant to the good teachers, and they got parents more involved in their students' life. The way to change it, that's the way to change it. My sons will tell you, one of them sitting in the audience right now, I don't tell them when I'm going to school, I just show up at the school. How's my son doing? Now, if they call me in, that's a whole different thing. When I was teaching there, I showed up there every day. I am an informed parent. I will be there to make sure that, and I will help the teachers. You don't know how many teachers are starving for your help as a parent because they don't get it. So we've got to figure out a way to put that in.
Mr. Costello, how many people in this room think that there's enough money in education in the state per child?
Yes.
Well, you need to do your math. Yes, there's plenty of money. Mr. Costello, as I asked, now you gave specifics. There are some people that say, wait a second, this was an unfunded mandate. It was based on contingency for stimulus money. It didn't kick into 2014. And if we're talking about giving local control back to the schools, why does Tallahassee keep mandating all this? Some people would ask that question. How do you respond to that?
I want to respond to the first part before
Okay,
I get there, because I want to tell you, I deal in reality. I'm not going to give you platitudes. I'm not going to give you theory. I'm going to give you reality. Florida education is improving. The reforms that education has already done in the last 10 years, our performance, especially our minority and underprivileged kids, is excelling compared to where it used to be. I compliment the legislature and the school boards for what they've done. We've got a whole lot more to do, and we've got to get ready for that. Performance evaluations. I think anybody that is successful in their arena welcomes them. When I was a captain in the Air Force 3 years in a row, the only 3 years I was there, I had the top evaluations every single category. I worked my butt off. I was proud of that. I want teachers that have that same attitude. We have underperforming schools. Guess what? The teachers were going to get incentives to go there. We have, it was mentioned about the special needs teachers. Guess what? They were going to get incentives to teach in special needs class. There were incentives for teachers to go to the places that most of our teachers don't seem to want to go. So that was taken care of in the bill. Now, what was the question you had?
The question is that some people would criticize that we talk about as Republicans going to give things back to local control. This bill didn't do it. It was based on contingency money. By stimulus money, it was going to raise taxes. If the counties did not want to get involved, it didn't kick into 2014. So I'm just saying, how would you respond to that?
If the counties did not want to get involved in a merit pay incentive-based system, they were going to withhold 5%. So it was not an unfunded mandate. It just said the state is charged in our Constitution with the paramount duty of educating our children. That's a state responsibility. The state was exercising its responsibility. I'm proud of the fact that the state is finally stepping in. I'm not proud of the fact they shifted about 20% of the cost of educating our kids to our property tax that didn't used to be there. We now pay about 50% of the cost of education locally, whereas we used to pay about 33%. So the state has shifted that onto the locals without most of you realizing it, thinking that the locals raised your taxes.
Good answer. I'm not really going to say that. You guys get the specifics on line cases. It's very good here. We're still ahead of schedule. What would you do for the right to life in Florida? Yes, there is an amendment that's going around. As a state legislator, do you support the personhood amendment to the U.S. Constitution promoted by American Life League and other groups? I'll start with you first, Nate. We'll go down the line here.
I am pro-life. I've always been pro-life. The question you're asking is, do I support a constitutional
There's a
amendment?
personhood amendment here in the state of Florida that everybody would be recognized as a human being.
Yes, I support that.
That's easy, pro-life, or yes, I support it.
Absolutely, I live it. My daughter was to be aborted. The clinic in Honduras called us up, said, do you want this child? She is now 35, I think it is, years old. I live pro-life.